Welcome to Life on Purpose, where we talk all things health, wellness, and living your life on your terms. I'm your host, Brandy Eilert. I'm a holistic health and wellness coach and creator of Brandy Eilert Wellness, where I help women with adrenal fatigue and chronic stress live a more holistic, purpose-filled life. You can find my content and services at wellness360coach.com/Brandy-Eilert. You can also find me at Brandy Eilert Holistic Wellness Coach on Facebook or Brandy Eilert Wellness Coach on Instagram. Now get ready to learn how to really live life on purpose. Welcome back, everyone. I hope you are all staying sane and healthy and safe during this wild, crazy, unpredictable time in our world's history. I know for me, things have felt very off during this whole thing. The energy that I was putting into my work before seems somewhat out of place now, if that makes any sense. My focus has shifted and my energy feels a bit dulled in a way. Not that my focus has shifted away from my work per se, but it's definitely focused on what's going on in the here and the now. The world seems very confusing right now. Like everything I knew before is shifting and the momentum of life has suddenly stalled and I'm just trying to keep my bearings. I don't know if that makes any sense to you guys or if you can relate, but that's kind of where I'm at. And I want to thank you all for kind of sticking with me here. So for today, though, today's show, we are going to dive into the idea of intergenerational trauma. In terms of what is happening right now, there is no doubt that the current state of the world will carry its effects into the next generation. That's a given. The long-term effects of today's challenges will shape the future of this country, this world, and what the next generation will look like. The history of our ancestors has shaped us, and we unknowingly carry their wounds, just as the next generation will very well carry the pain of the wounds that we are experiencing today. This is the very idea addressed with the theory of intergenerational trauma. Today's guest discusses this idea in respect to stress, anxiety, and depression. The idea is that the pain of our ancestors, our great-grandparents, our grandparents, our parents, can be passed down and down and down and down and down, and that a cycle of pain can affect generations after its original wounding. So you may be experiencing stress and anxiety that isn't even yours. And I've heard story after story after story from friends and family members and clients who struggle with anxiety that they can't even explain or pinpoint the cause of. They can have what they consider a very fulfilled life and everything that they want or desire and still struggle with anxiety, and they can't understand why. So when I was introduced to this idea of intergenerational trauma, I was quite intrigued. It's a fascinating topic, and I was glad that Michael was willing to come on and chat about it. Michael Shu is a professional life coach and holistic health practitioner and is the author of You Are the Fucking Shit, Heal Your Anxiety, Anger, and Depression from the Ground Up. He is also host of the Heal from the Ground Up podcast and YouTube channel, which features coaching sessions healing anxiety, anger, and depression through intergenerational trauma healing. So let's go ahead and we're going to jump right into this fascinating conversation with Michael Shu. All right, Michael, thanks so much for agreeing to chat with me today. I really appreciate it, especially in such a kind of crazy time we're living in. I know for me, particularly, even just doing this interview is anxiety inducing, knowing that my entire family is in this house right now and could pop in at any moment. And So we are socially distancing upstairs and downstairs. But how are you doing and your family and all that with all of this?
We've hit a lot of lows, a lot of challenges.
Yeah.
Do you want me to tell you the real deal of it?
Yeah, let's hear it. Come on. Raw and real. Let's hear it.
Okay. A lot of, it stirred a lot of events. So 2 weeks before, okay, me and my wife, we live in the addition to my parents' house.
Mm-hmm.
And 2 weeks before we're about to purchase a house, she didn't tell me, and she put all our savings into stocks. And then
Yeah.
the corona's outbreak hits its peak,
Yeah.
the market crashes,
Yeah.
and say half of our savings is lost. This stirs a lot of events. It's not just like, oh, why did she do that? A
Sure.
part of it is that I had to establish just honoring my voice,
Mm-hmm.
because she did something without telling me. And then when I confronted her about it, she was like, "Oh, it's not a big deal." I was like, "What?" You know. So
Right.
we had a session, and then she said, you really got to listen to Michael, but also she talked to me. She said, you created this because you allowed this to happen. You don't honor how you really feel. You don't express it, because I'm
Mm-hmm.
always like, worried about what if she gets angry, or just feeling responsible for her. So I practiced that. I did a lot of, I got really angry. Sometimes I would yell, but I was practicing
Mm-hmm.
exercising my voice. But also it triggered this attachment to self-worth, to money, productivity, and performance
Yeah.
or
Yeah.
success. And that's something I had to really deal with, because there were less clients coming in, and then half of the savings are lost, and I'm just like, oh. And then I'm very hard on myself.
Mm-hmm.
With I'm just starting a YouTube channel. I'm just learning how to create the video, and I see myself. It's just like, oh, this is wrong. This is wrong, and I'm worried about making a mistake. So I can see like this a strong attachment to self worth that is attached to my performance, productivity.
Sure. Do you think that kind of this whole situation, the coronavirus outbreak, and everybody kind of being socially distanced together. I don't know if that makes sense, but you're really close to your family members right now, and you're really close to your partner right now. And it's kind of brings up these things that maybe you wouldn't have normally dealt with beforehand.
Yes, yes. I remember I coached another podcaster, and he's a massage therapist, so he's
Mm-hmm.
unable to work at all. But he's with his family at all times, with his children, and he gets easily upset with them because
Yeah.
he'll tell them to do something, and they don't. Sometimes they don't listen. But now they're in the house together all the time, so that really, really comes up.
Yeah.
But it's been a while. I remember, I think it was the one of the parents has an issue. Like if you don't listen to them, they feel like they're out of control and like they don't matter. And so he was living in his parents' movie, but it was just amplified
Yeah.
by the situation.
Yeah. Oh my goodness. Yeah. I feel like it's bringing up a lot of stuff for, for a lot of different people, but I want to back up. I want, cause not everybody knows this, we kind of jumped right in here, but I want you to, kind of explain like who you are, what you do.
Okay. Okay. I'm an intergenerational trauma healer of anxiety, anger, and depression.
Mm-hmm.
It's really asking yourself the whatever emotional pain you're experiencing, and asking yourself the question, whose movie are you in? Especially if you're highly sensitive and highly empathic,
Mm-hmm.
because you can misuse your gift. By the way, how do you know if you're highly sensitive or empathic? You want to ask yourself the question, if somebody around you is feeling anxious, angry, sad, or depressed, are you able to feel it, sense it, or pick up on it? If so, then you are in the category of the 1 out of 5 of highly sensitive and highly empathic. And with this gift, if you don't use it consciously or correctly, then you can subconsciously zap yourself into somebody else's movie, thinking it's your own. And in this scenario, no matter what you do, nothing ever changes. It's extremely confusing, painful, and traumatic. And I think a personal story, I can use a personal story, or I can use a client story.
Sure. Whatever. I mean, whatever you feel, most inspired to tell.
Say my personal story so much. So
Well, my next question was actually going to be your personal story. So
okay,
if you
okay.
want
So
to do the
I'll
client story, we'll
begin.
get into the personal story later.
Okay,
Yeah.
okay. So I'll share the client story. So I coached somebody on the podcast, and She comes in feeling very lost because she had a steady job and now she wants to be an entrepreneur. But as an entrepreneur, nothing is set in stone. She doesn't know if she will succeed or not. She's like, oh, what if I fail? But it's really, nothing is really set in stone. You have to create your own way. So she feels extremely lost and like she's not in control. That was the key issue.
Mm-hmm.
And another example of that was her daughter. She has enough clothes for her daughter to wear a different outfit for 3 weeks in a row. But her daughter will wear one outfit Monday and wear the same outfit Wednesday. And it doesn't matter even if it's stained a little bit. And it'll drive Tia crazy and mad. Okay? Because she's not in control. She feels powerless.
Mm-hmm.
Okay? Her boyfriend, she's a single mother, but her boyfriend, when he's not listening intently to what she's saying, she'll lose it.
Mm-hmm.
And so where does this feeling of powerlessness comes from and the need to be in control? Well, when she was years old, her mother's sister was murdered by her husband. Her husband was a serial killer who had strangled her to death. So this had happened he had done this many times before.
Mm-hmm.
And so the trauma of the family was they were completely blindsided, completely powerless that their family member would be killed by her very own husband and he was a serial killer. So when she's in the movie of her past family members, she was only 1 year old, but she could absorb all that energy. And so when her daughter's wearing the same outfit, it's the same thing, not in control. And she wants to succeed as an entrepreneur. And so the issue you would think is failure, because that's what she was worrying about. But really what was the true barrier was feeling powerless. Nothing is set in stone. She has to create. So that was the core. The core of the core is intergenerational trauma healing.
So intergenerational trauma would be something that you experienced in your family's history that is like a pattern that you continue on throughout your life, whether it's conscious or unconscious.
Mostly is completely subconscious. And the word trauma, people normally think it's sexual, verbal, or physical abuse. But that kind of trauma, when it happens, you normally know eventually that it's something wrong with this. That was wrong.
Mm-hmm.
But trauma expands a huge and wide spectrum. It can happen in so many ways.
Yeah.
Just like the experience that I talked about. And the trauma of living in somebody else's movie as your own, misusing your gift of high sensitivity and high empathy, that is incredibly confusing, incredibly painful, and traumatic because your pain becomes a hologram. No matter what you do to try to fix it, nothing ever changes.
Right. So because you coach people one-on-one and then you also coach them on your podcast, is there an underlying kind of theme with a lot of your clients? I mean, where does this trauma usually come from, and is it very similar across the board?
It can come in many different flavors, like Baskin Robbins.
Mm-hmm.
But the same trauma is living in somebody else's movie as your own.
Mm-hmm.
And it's normally like, not only is the parents, but it's the third generation. And there's this interesting study revealed in this book called It Didn't Start With You.
Mm-hmm.
And in that, because it seems a little scientific, but it really brings the point home.
Hey, I'm all about the scientific. Go ahead, bring it on.
Okay. So they took a group of male mice and exposed them to a cherry scent. Every time they did so, they would give them an electric shock. They did it so many times that they would just panic from the cherry scent, even without the electric shock. They took the sperm from these male mice and impregnated female mice that never had any exposure to the male mice. When the female mice had their offspring and the offspring were exposed to the cherry scent, they also panicked. Now, when the offspring had their own offspring, this is the third generation, when they were exposed to that cherry scent, they also panicked.
That's really interesting. So there's not only an emotional kind of response that carries on, but almost like a physiological, biological
They say
response.
it's in the genetic expression. It's not set in stone. You can undo it.
Mm-hmm.
But really importantly is when you're highly sensitive and
Mm-hmm.
highly empathic, that intergenerational trauma will transfer over very strongly.
So then when you're working with clients and you can get to that original wounding, or you can go back far enough to figure out where these stresses lie and where they came from, how do you go about picking that apart and helping your clients work through that wounding so that it doesn't continue to carry on or it doesn't continue to affect their lives? Like, what's the process for you, like with your clients, and trying to uncover that and then pick it apart to where it's not their story anymore?
Okay. So identifying the trauma is almost one of the last steps. How do you get there? Because people are not thinking that. People are
Mm-hmm.
lost in some type of problem and emotion.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. So there's a mantra I tell people to help them center themselves. And the mantra goes, problems bring up feelings in us that existed before the problem ever happened. Okay.
Wow. Okay. Yeah.
And this is a part of the process I created, which is the emotional strength FIST process. F stands for feeling. You can tell yourself feeling is healing, because we're normally thinking, and overthinking, or constantly doing. Thoughts and actions are important. They're the ship that helps us get to our destination, but our captain is feeling. And this is about the thinking mind. We don't want to feel, because we associate feeling with feeling pain. But pain is an emotional wound. Feeling is healing because it connects you to love. So even if you feel the pain, you begin the healing process by giving your emotional wound the medicine of love in order to heal.
Mm-hmm.
But this is about the thinking mind. The thinking mind wants to avoid the feeling. The thinking mind will tell us it is the problem causing you a certain negative emotion and negative feeling. And it tells us fix the problem and you will fix the feeling. But the core negative feeling preceded the problem. So even if you fix the negative feeling, even if you fix the problem, the core issue, the core negative feeling still exists.
Mm-hmm.
Now, these core negative feelings are weeds. They're going to say something negative about you, but you want to remind yourself they're not true about who you really are. You just need to uncover it, identify it, pull it out so it doesn't overtake your yard and control how you feel and think on a subconscious level. But do you want me to go on to the next part of the process?
Yeah. I'd love to hear like the whole process of how you work with them. And
Okay. So once you establish this foundation of feeling, it's not the end all be all. It just establish a foundation for all other levels of healing and awareness to be possible. Then you go into the I in the FIST process, which is identify these feelings, these weeds. The process that we use is PEWF. You can think of the poof process. Okay.
kind of a fun name.
Make the stuff go poof, go away.
Right.
And so before we begin, I asked them, out of the three main negative emotions, which ones do they experience? And there are subcategories to each one. There's anxiety, worry, or fear. A lot of times we suppress how we feel. We don't associate anxiety, but we associate with worry and fear. Second one is anger or frustration. Frustration is really just repressed anger, and anger does not have to be something that's violent. Then the third one, there's a negative stigma to it, and I believe a misconception, and that's the word depression, which I call emotional suppression, suppressing, numbing, and bottling in how you feel. When they resonate with that, then when I ask them, okay, do you experience any worry, fear, or frustration? Because those are ways that we suppress our emotions. Then once we identify the emotion, I tell them that's the PEWF. P is problem, E is emotion. Now I'll ask them, what problem or situation brings up strong feelings of anxiety, worry, or fear in you? And so, for example, it could be with Tia, being an entrepreneur. She's anxious. She's also frustrated. And then to identify the weed, we need to focus on the W, which is worst fear, worst case scenario.
Mm-hmm.
And so stretch your original problem, stretch it all the way to your worst fear, worst case scenario, and then ask them, tell me, what does that look like? So with Tia, with, for example, her daughter wearing the same outfit, 2 days apart, she's like, her daughter never listens to her. She buys all these clothes, she buys everything for her to make her life as good as possible, and then she still doesn't listen to her. So her worst fear, worst case scenario is that her daughter never listens to her. Then you want to identify the feeling. So you think that's the F in the proof process, feeling about the self. You want to imagine if your worst fear, worst case scenario were to come true, how would that make you feel about who you are?
Mm-hmm.
There are 3 common feelings that come up, and I call it FWP, which stands for fail. F says failure or failing others. That's what she resonated with. Failure. I'd fail as an entrepreneur. W is worthless. This is many subcategories. I don't matter. I don't exist. I'm abandoned. I'm alone. People don't care about me. I'm neglected. Then P is powerless. Powerless as a fixer because you feel immensely responsible for others, which is using your personal key to drive somebody else's vehicle of life, trying to be in control of something that is out of your control, making you feel powerless, or just simply just feeling powerless because you always need to be in control. So mainly for her, it was powerlessness.
Mm-hmm.
This is a long step.
No, I'm intrigued. I'm really intrigued.
Yeah. And then normally the next step is apply the same PEWF proof process to both of your parents. Then you realize you actually have the same feelings. Same feeling of powerless, same feelings of failure or worthlessness. Then you can see like they're being transferred. But where do their feelings all come from?
Mm-hmm.
Because when you were born, they already were feeling that way. Something happened in their childhood. Something happened to their parents. What planted the seed? What is the intergenerational trauma that their feelings are coming from? And that takes it takes me 2 hours to do from point A to point Z. And in the second part, it's just me trying to dig.
Right. And I imagine getting them to dig too. I mean, and that's got to be, especially if the client is so used to suppressing this emotion or these emotions in general. I'm sure that can be really emotionally taxing, taking those 2 hours and like diving super deep and trying to uncover all of this.
But it's giving them the tools so then they feel safe.
Yeah.
Knowing that you're going to uncover some negative feelings. They're going to say something extremely negative about you. Who wants to hear, I'm a failure, I'm worthless, I'm powerless? But I tell them, we're cutting the head off the snake.
Mm-hmm.
Because what we normally do, the PEWF proof process, is the mechanism of the ego, the thinking mind. The thinking mind will tell us, fixate on the problem, fixate on the emotion. Oh, it's my depression, it's my anxiety, it's my anger. Fixate on the worst fear in order to prevent it. Because all of this is a coping mechanism to help you avoid feeling the F, the feeling about the self. I feel worthless, I feel powerless, I feel like a failure. But if you avoid this feeling, then you are subconsciously telling yourself that it is true. You wouldn't run unless a bear was running after you, right?
Right.
But and I ask clients, when you feel this feeling, do you run by constantly thinking and constantly doing to avoid the feeling, or seeking control, right? Because we want control. Why? Because we want to prevent something bad from happening. And if it were to happen, if the worst fear were to happen, it'd bring up this uncomfortable feeling. But you got to cut the head off the snake. You got to identify the feeling, feel it, because feeling is healing. And once you face it, it begins to lose its power and control over you. And it's much better than avoiding, which we normally do anyway.
Sure. Wow. That's really powerful. And I think for anybody who's willing to do the work and dig that deep, I imagine it can be a pretty powerful emotional release so that you're no longer stuck and can then move forward and move past and think of yourself in a completely different light.
Yeah.
Now let's go backwards. I want to get into your story. I want to get into your healing journey and how you got to be where you are as this coach, as this healer.
Okay. So something happened more recently. You know, my child is about 6.5 months old, and 10 days before he was born, and he was born in the Czech Republic because my wife has free healthcare there.
Mm-hmm.
And we stayed there until when he was 2 months old, and we came back to the US. But during that 2 month period, I had terrible insomnia. I would sleep 3 or 4 hours and then wake up because either I had to change a diaper or go to the restroom. And immediately I feared I wouldn't be able to go back asleep. And it kept on happening for 2 months. It was like a nightmare. And my worst fear, remember the PEWF proof process, was what if I die? Okay. Then the 2 months was ended and we came back to the US. My parents picked us up at the airport and we all had dinner together that very same night. And me and my wife were sharing stories on how we raised our newborn, and my parents were were sharing stories on how they raised me as a newborn.
Mm-hmm.
And I found out for the first time ever that my mother never took care of me throughout the night because she was scared if I were to wake her up, she wouldn't be able to go back asleep. And she's extremely, extremely fearful of death, but she obsessively fixates on health and safety to avoid it. So for example, the house that she lives in is in a really nice neighborhood, but the windows are barred up. There's an alarm system, a surveillance system, and in her bedroom door, she has a door lock, chain lock, and she puts a chair against the door handle.
Every single night.
Every single night.
Oh my goodness.
And so, an immense fear of death too. But the thing is, the feeling is rooted in, like, if you die, it's a very common fear.
Mm-hmm.
There's various reasons, but for her and for a lot of people, not for everybody, but because if you die, you cease to exist. It's the most extreme version of worthlessness.
Right.
And where does that feeling of worthlessness come from? Come from in our family, on our or her side, is in the intergenerational pain of abandonment. So when my grandma was 5 years old, her father was a high-ranking general, and he wanted somebody prettier, a wife that was prettier and better educated. So he divorced my grandma's mother. She ended up living an extreme life of poverty, just a hunchback, developed a hunchback because she was working in the fields, and she was severed from her first child ever since.
Wow.
Okay, that's the first experience of abandonment. Now, my grandma's father remarried, and the stepmother did not want to be known as the stepmother. So she did not want my grandma a part of the family. She doesn't want to be a stepmother. She doesn't want to be known as a second wife. So my grandmother was raised by her grandparents. Now, this is World War II. So communists invaded the home, and she was hiding in the barn. And so she saw her family members lined up in a line and killed execution style.
Wow.
So it's a world of death, violence, and murder. And so she flees to her father's new home with his stepmother, and his first reaction is disappointment because he knows that his second wife will be angry. So with her life on the line, it's not worth protecting.
Right.
And so she's 93 years old right now, and for all this time that I've known her, during family lunches and dinners, she'll often sit with her body facing outwardly, like that.
Yeah.
Because she feels subconsciously that she's not a part of the family. Not because of anything we do, but it's just something that she subconsciously holds on to.
Mm-hmm.
And my mother, my grandmother was raised traditionally, so she favored my uncle over my mother in a very, strong way. But now they're good, they have a great relationship. But my mother internalized her mother's experience of abandonment, but internalized it as her own movie. So when you can't fix the pain that you internalize, because it's impossible, it doesn't belong to you, you have to create fear to make sense of it.
Right.
As ridiculous it may be, you have to create something. I coached somebody else who's also a podcaster, and he's a college student with an immense fear of driving. He's terrified. He's only driven twice in his life, and only in a parking lot. He's even scared to walk around moving cars.
Interesting.
Now, worst fear, death.
Yeah.
But where does this all come from? His great-grandparents? Because his family's from India and Pakistan. During that time, it was still one country, but when Britain left, I'm learning all of this through him. When Britain left, it separated from Pakistan, and India and Pakistan became Muslim state. And so the non-Muslims were migrating from Pakistan to India, and the Muslims were migrating from India to Pakistan. And there's obviously a conflict tension between two religions, and also it's an experience and a journey of death, violence, murder, and hunger. So when he's in that car and he's terrified, he's in his great-grandparents' movie, and his grandparents' movie, because they were 5 years old at that time.
Yeah, sure.
As his own.
Mm-hmm.
And that's what we do. We have to create some type of fear because it doesn't make sense. We have to have some sense of release. And for me, it's, what if I don't sleep well? If I don't sleep well, I will die. I have to create something.
Right. And even though that doesn't even sound remotely rational, it's obviously a very real physiological fear. So what
will make sense of it? Because if I don't create a fear, if a person who internalizes that intergenerational trauma, if they don't create some type of fear, some type of problem to fix it, they'll go crazy. Because that's the reason why I don't feel well. Once I fix this problem, then I'll be better. But it's an unfixable problem because it's a hologram representing intergenerational trauma. It does not belong to you.
Right. So once you identified kind of where this fear was and what was kind of causing your insomnia and fear of death, and how did you then go about for yourself moving on from it and healing from it, or living with it, or managing it?
There's a tremendous release because when you're in somebody else's movie thinking it's your own, that is traumatic because nothing ever changes. That pain is a hologram. Then I begin to use my gift of high sensitivity and high empathy consciously and correctly. I see the movie in front of my eyes, the miniature movie screen. I see what my mother's side, what they experienced, and also what my father experienced. I see it. And therefore, I'm using my gift consciously because I tell myself, and I tell clients this, once they identify the trauma, I tell them to say this mantra out loud. I'm not an emotional sponge, but a source of light. So you don't want to misuse your gift. You do that internalized pain will become your emotional kryptonite. It'll break you down physically, emotionally, mentally, and make your life into the living nightmare that it feels like right now.
Yeah.
You have to separate from what doesn't belong to you in order to truly help others in the most powerful way. And this gift is not a destination because people want to think, when will I get there? When will I heal this pain? When will I get rid of the anxiety or the insomnia? But it's about mastering your gift. And your gift is not a destination. It's a muscle. It's a muscle to flex, and it's a superpower to master. So you're gonna have to keep on applying the emotional strength, FIST process, feeling, identifying through the proof process, then separation. Whose movie am I in?
So would you say it's really important to understand that, like, for people who are highly sensitive and or empathic, that just knowing that helps the process, that you are feeling energy that maybe isn't your own and carrying energy that isn't your own?
Yeah.
I mean, is that a big part of the process, just understanding that? Because I don't know that everybody understands that they're highly sensitive or highly emotional and that they're feeling other people's energy and emotions.
That's why the process takes people from point A to point Z. And if you don't, a good question to know, are you highly sensitive or empathic? Ask yourself, if other people around you is feeling anxious, angry, sad, or depressed, are you able to feel it? Are you able to sense it or pick up on it? If you are in the category of the 1 out of 5 of highly sensitive and highly empathic. And I call this gift emotional antennas. It seems really silly. Once I tell them, take their 2 index fingers, put them on the sides of their head, and just I tell them to do it for a couple seconds. You want to try this?
Let's do it.
See, it's funny, right?
Yeah.
But it brings the point home. And then I say, again, once they put them down, I say, even though you put them down, they're always there.
Mm-hmm.
You were born with them. They allow you to feel what other people feel.
Mm-hmm.
And so there's actually like an exercise I do, an emotional attendance exercise. I have them, but I don't know, it's too detailed. It makes sense when they're actually in the process.
Right.
But I literally have them get some type of physical object with significant weight,
Mm-hmm.
place it on their lap, and have them close their eyes, and now tell them your true emotional. Like, so listeners, they probably meet me using the proof process to identifying their core feelings. Maybe they can see the similarity in their parents, or maybe they did uncover that intergenerational trauma. Once they do so, I tell them to close their eyes and connect with their body, their true. You want to try this?
Yeah.
Okay.
Let's do it. Do I need something heavy?
Anything with significant weight, but just not a cell phone.
Okay. Here, I've got my giant camera here.
Okay. So you close your eyes and connect with your body, your true emotional antenna. This is how you feel what other people feel. This is where you internalize them. This is where you store them. Now I want you to connect in your body all your negative emotions, worst fears, and core negative feelings. Feeling powerless, feeling like a failure, feeling worthless, like you don't matter somehow. Connect with all that and transfer it all from your body into this weight and object on your lap. Transfer every last drop of it. After you transfer it all, I want you to reframe what these negative emotions, worst fears, and core negative feelings are. Reframe them as the emotional signals you picked up through your emotional antennas from your parents since you were a child, or your grandparents, whatever that intergenerational trauma is. Allow that awareness to settle and to sink in your body. And take a deep breath. This is normally, like I'll tell people, like, as their eyes are closed. For example, I'll tell, like, Tia, say, when your daughter is wearing the same outfit again and it makes you feel powerless, know that you are feeling your whole family's feelings, your mother's feelings. That trauma of losing her mother's sister killed by her husband, who was a serial killer. That feeling of powerlessness, when you're not in control, people die. The people close to you die. And so I want you to know that you are feeling your past family members' feelings, your mother's feelings, and visualize that movie screen in front of you and see whose movie are you in. And that's what I do, is have them visualize and really connect what they are feeling now and how it's tied to what their parents are feeling, what their past family members are feeling, and have them open their eyes. And the last step for this, to really separate, there's an exercise called SAM. And are you okay with a little playful cussing?
Sure. I mean, we are going to talk about your book later. So,
So SAM stands for shit ain't mine.
Yeah.
So what does that mean? That object and weight on your lap, restoring all the negative emotions, worst fears, and core negative feelings of your parents or past family members, doesn't belong to you. Mm-hmm. And if you misuse your gift of emotional antennas and internalize their feelings as your own, then that weight and object is your emotional kryptonite that breaks you down physically, emotionally, and mentally. So you want to say, I'm not an emotional sponge, but a source of light. And you imagine a healthy line of separation, separating your personal space and the personal space of your parents and past family members.
Mm-hmm.
And you place that object across the line of separation and verbally say out loud, shit ain't mine. And then at the same time, feel your body, your true emotional antenna, separating from all these negative emotions and core negative feelings. So whenever you're ready, you can do so.
Yeah. All right, shit ain't mine. I love it. I love the visualization of the whole exercise. Like the visualizing you physically removing that portion of yourself that wasn't actually yours to begin with.
Yeah.
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 Wow, I love it. I love it. That's great. Let's talk about some good news, a little bit of good news, I guess. Give me kind of what's been the biggest transformation either in yourself or a client that you've experienced? Like what's that one client, that one story, or even like your biggest win in your life?
All of them.
Yeah.
Every time I speak with a client and we go to the core of it all, it was like, whoa, that's something that's more data into the bank.
Mm-hmm.
And it's more like this process was created from my own experience and journey and transformation, but also like working with others. Every time I hear an amazing story and the root of it, I was like, wow, that's a new thing. And I keep on adding to it. So I had coaching somebody with social anxiety. Mm-hmm. She said like, I have social anxiety disorder, and she's a single mother and she wants to go on. She does online dating, but she's hard to trust people. Yeah. And she really hates social media because she says everybody's posting positive stuff and they're not showing who they really are. I mean, there's a valid point, but it's coming from somewhere.
Yes, sure.
And she has a podcast, and she's reluctant to really share herself on her podcast, or she's a good writer to share her stories because she's just worried of that social anxiety. Now, where is this all coming from? If I go to the root of the root and bypass it all, it took 2 hours. But so on her father's side, her father passed away when she was 8 years old, but there was still like stories that happened during that time. And they grew up in a very dangerous environment, a lot of gangs. Okay. So her uncle was a gang leader, and her uncle's friend, they were in the house, took him out of the house, and then shot and killed him because there are rival gangs. Mm-hmm. So there's like a position play on power. Killed by his own friend. Mm-hmm. Now her aunt in the same family was she overdosed in a family in a friend's house with her friends, and her friends left her there to die. She probably could have lived if they were to take her to the hospital, but they left her to die. So when she says social anxiety and saying like, I hate when people don't show who they really are on social media, or putting herself out there on online dating, she's scared to put herself out there. She's scared to because her past family members were betrayed by their own friends, left to die, killed by their best friend. And so she's in that movie, and she's finally, then she can release.
Right. So it ended up being a trust issue.
But it wasn't her experience.
Right. So fascinating. This is also fascinating. Yeah.
Can I share one more?
Yeah. Let's hear it.
Okay, let me see which one. There's a lot, like a bag. I can't even remember, but okay, so this was yesterday. He lives in Australia, and his family is originally from Vietnam. And so he comes to me saying like, hold on, let me think. Okay, so he comes in originally saying, I struggle with work-life balance. And he says, I don't want to invest in a relationship, and what if it doesn't work out? Then I wasted my time. It took a while, but it really wasn't about like, oh, I felt betrayed. It's like it's a wasted time that he could have invested on his business, on his podcast, or in his professional life. So he's going to further feel like he's further behind. And it's really about this feeling of failure, because he admitted he's actually extremely hard on himself. But then where's this failure and an attachment to self-worth come from? And it took a lot of digging. There was like a lot of wartime trauma. His aunt came on a boat all by herself and then brought all the family members over. But all of it came from the grandfather, and it just took some digging. So I said, with his grandfather, like he said, he would get angry a lot, and then his grandfather would tell him as a child, like, you have to take a shower before dinner time, and if he didn't, he'd lose it. He'd get extremely angry. Every dinner he had to take a shower. It's ridiculous. Or anytime he just didn't listen to his grandfather as a kid, he would get angry. And where's that coming from? Because in Vietnam, the grandfather was the provider. The war came, communism came, took everything away, lost all possessions. Comes to Australia, he's not the provider. He can't speak English. Now he depends on his children, completely depend on his children. So he feels completely worthless. And so now he wants his name is Tommy. He wants his grandchild to listen to him because that's his only sense of self-worth that he can hold on to. He feels like he does not matter. And so it's that minuscule. So he's internalizing this. Tommy's internalizing this and focusing on work-life balance. It's not even the relationship. It has nothing to do with the relationship because he's focusing on the relationship. It's really the feeling of failure in his professional life. But that is about all from his grandfather's experience.
Wow. I'm sure there's like story after story after story. And I think that for each of us, when we sit down and think about our own insecurities and anxiety inducing issues, and to really like know that maybe this isn't all about me. Maybe, that kind of gives people hope a little bit. Okay, this isn't me. This is something that I can trace back and I can kind of move on from or let go of and quit passing on. That's really hopeful for people.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I love it. Well, I would love, before we wrap up here, to talk about your book. Can you tell us a little bit about your book and the process of writing that and kind of what people can expect out of it?
I mean, the title is pretty brash. But
it's okay. I'll put the explicit thing on this episode.
The title is, you can see behind me, is
Yep.
You Are the Fucking Shit. Heal Your Anxiety, Anger, Depression from the Ground Up. And the story of that term is really funny because when I was in coaching school, we had to do this exercise of embodying your captain, which is like your higher self. And they had to think of somebody that really embodied that higher self. And I thought of Chick Hearn, which is this legendary sportscaster for the Los Angeles Lakers. He already passed away, so that's what I wanted to see myself as. And we had to do this exercise to embody it. And we're in small groups, and everybody was broken up in small groups. And my partner just told me, like, what do you want to do? What do you feel like doing? And then I was like, I feel like standing on a chair, but I was really shy about it. And she supported me the whole way. She's like, go ahead, do that. And I was like, okay. And like, she's like, what's next? And I said, I feel like banging my chest like athletes do. I was like, I don't want to do that. It's like, I just felt like I was on a trapeze, and she was just like supporting me. And she's like, no, go ahead, do it. So I did that. And she's like, what else do you want to do? And I whispered to her, I kind of want to yell out, I'm the fucking shit, but there's no way I'm going to yell that right now. There's no way. It's impossible. And she's like, again, it felt like I was on a trapeze, and she was fully supporting me. And I was like, okay, here we go. And I was like, and I yelled it out, I'm the fucking shit. And then everybody went quiet, and the instructor said, okay, I think that's it for today. he chuckled,
Yeah. You got
it. Yeah. And then an hour later, we had to do another small group exercise, sharing our purpose. We reconvene in a big circle. And one classmate said she was really struggling. She felt really sad that she doesn't know her purpose. And another classmate immediately walked up to her and just started coaching her right in front of her, in front of everybody else. And eventually had her stand on her chair and announce and claim her purpose. And she was like, she felt so amazing from it. She was like, I want everybody to do this. Everybody in class to do this. So we all took turns standing on her chair and claiming our purpose. So other people were like, they like, I'm the lighthouse that illuminates the world. And another one said like, I'm the ocean of safe space and transformation. And I go up and like put my hands up like I'm the fucking shit. And then everybody falls to the floor. And so what does that mean? Like that's the T in the FIST process. It's the true self. It's embodying who you are, your true self, because it's the beauty of who you are is who you are just as you are. That's your true self. And people, when I ask people to identify it, and I tell them before you do so, you cannot identify it as kind, caring, or compassionate, because when you're alone in a room, and if you do so, you're going to feel like you're not good enough.
Yeah.
Because you have to do something for someone else. But your greatest gift is just who you are. It's just your existence. It's your presence. And people struggle with this all the time. They'll say like, I don't know, I've heard the word on another podcast I said, how do you define yourself? Even after explaining all that, she said, I've connected. I feel connected to everything. That's how she defines her true self. That's misusing the gift. And when you're like that, if you identify yourself as the we, because the me is the greatest gift to the we. And when you just do identify yourself in relation to others, you become an emotional sponge for the pain of others. Right. In the movies of others. And that's a lot of pain. That's a lot of burden, responsibility. That's impossible responsibility. No way can you be responsible for the world. So that's something that, help people identify. When I say, you are the fucking shit, that's like my calm goofball. That's how I identify the true self.
That's the very core of you. It has nothing to do with anybody else.
Yep.
I love it. So what can you expect out of the book? What can people find in there like that's helpful for them in dealing with their own healing journey?
Well, it does all the process, but I'll be upfront about this. That was written 2 years ago. That diving deep into the intergenerational trauma, that's more available in my podcast, my YouTube channel, and private sessions with me, and also my upcoming community, which also has a built-in class to it. So, and also all these examples I'm sharing.
Yeah.
That's like recent that I've been coaching. So that gives you a really, really, really good, like it's the first half of the process.
Yeah.
Once you have to identify like how your parents are feeling these feelings, and it's the same. You say shit ain't mine, but then where do they feelings come from? Some type of trauma, and I touched upon it in the book. But to go dive deep into it, people can see coaching sessions on my YouTube channel and my podcast. You can see video coaching sessions, and in my community, it's just about people sharing stories. And the reason why that's so powerful is as I was sharing stories with you, it's just like open all these windows and ways to perceive things, and it's just gonna be like this explosion of.
Right. I think people in general want to be able to connect to other people. They want to be able to see themselves in someone else's story. Although we did just talk about, letting other people's stories go, but just that connection and knowing that, you're not alone in the things that you deal with. Yeah, I think it's really helpful. So where can people find all of those resources?
The podcast is Heal from the Ground Up. The YouTube channel is just searching Heal from the Ground Up. And also the community is yatfs.us.
Okay.
It'll be launched. It's already up, but it'll be launched officially in 3 weeks.
Oh, okay. Well, we're having a big launch. Great.
Yeah. And so YATFS, what does that stand for? I'm going to quiz you.
Okay. YATFS. You are the fucking shit.
Yes. Good job.
You made me say it, dang it.
I tricked you. But it was really interesting. Why is it .us? Because .com was already taken.
Okay.
By Youngstown Area Tropical Fish Society.
Oh, Lord.
So it's a nonprofit organization protecting tropical fish in some region in the U.S.
Oh,
but it all works out because .us means it's a community. It's people coming together, learning the process, and learning from each other.
Yeah. And then also, where can people find your book?
Amazon.
All right, perfect. Okay, before we go, I have one last question.
Okay.
And I'm sure you've probably been getting this one a lot. We touched on it a little bit earlier, but if you were to give just one piece of advice to people struggling right now with the social distancing, the anxiety around coronavirus, the anxiety around the state of the world right now, what advice would you give?
Problems bring up feelings in us that existed before the problem ever happened. Not saying that the problem is not a problem. For example, my wife, she has a terrible concept of time. Our second date, she was 40 minutes late. So it's just constant being late. But when she's late, it makes me feel like I don't exist. But that feeling preceded the problem. So the only way to gain peace about what's going on right now, what's happening right now, is stirring up a lot of unresolved feelings and very likely intergenerational trauma. I believe this is the core of the pain of humanity. And so I want people to see this as this seems like a fairy tale or unicorn, but I want people to see this as an opportunity. Half of my family's savings was lost. And then it triggered all this. When I was having that insomnia for 2 months, it felt like hell. It felt like my worst nightmare. And people have different triggers. For me, that's my trigger. When I don't sleep well, it's like the end of the world. Yeah. Everybody has their own version of the end of the world. But it felt like hell to me. But I went through it, and I learned something so powerful, which is all the stories I'm sharing with you today. So if I didn't experience that, I wouldn't be sharing this message with you today.
Right,
so the crap you're going through right now, it's stirring up a lot of stuff, and make this an opportunity. Accept that it's all happening for your greater good. Accept that it is critical for your peace, healing, and transformation. And you will become a better person for yourself, much more at peace, and especially your family, because children are emotional sponges.
Right.
And it's going to be the best gift that they give to them. Like me and my wife, through all this, she doesn't want to be with my parents. It triggers a lot of stuff, and she gets really angry. Like in the sessions that we had, a couple sessions, like she's called the Incredible Hulk. Okay, like
I'm sure she appreciates that dearly.
No, I'm serious. There's vicious, like physical. Like this like there was physical, like no, I don't want to say abuse, but like, okay, so we love each other, we're life partners, but for example, like she would watch the news, like she'd be okay, she'd watch the news, consume herself, and then like just flip a switch and go, and I just hated that up and down. It's just like giving me hell. So I just turned off the internet one day. She didn't know how to turn it back on, and then I was in my office, I locked the door, she's banging the door, Michael, and then I finally, took a while, I opened the door. When I opened the door, she was carrying our baby, and she was hitting me, punching me and kicking me while holding the baby. I'll give you the raw and dirty, the reason why I do that. I'm a healer or whatever, but but I give you the raw and dirty because this stuff, what's happening, brought us our lows, like our relationship sessions.
Yeah.
Like we were just arguing. It felt like our relationship was going to go for a downturn, but we're able to learn it. We've grown so much from it. And she, we call it intuitive, or coach told her, you got to manage the Incredible Hulk. We got to say incredible. We got to listen to each other instead of like fighting with each other. We got to be board executives, and we come to the table instead of fighting. Okay, let's figure out a solution, and just giving these small tools really helped transform our relationship.
Oh yeah. Wow. Well, Michael, this has been such a great, enlightening conversation. I really appreciate you sharing and sharing your message and your book and your YouTube channel and all the great resources that you have. So again, just thank you so much.
Thank you, Brandy. It was a pleasure.